Oh, yeah. There we go. There's the optimize. I'm sorry if the previous song came out choppy. And here we are with Australia. And in Times Square. Yeah, Times Square. Times Square. Meanwhile, now let's get, unfortunately, to the rest of the world. First of all, England. This week in England, nation's #1 anti-Semite was elected to Parliament. His name is George Galloway. And let's just get this back off the screen a moment. Okay. George Galloway is, as I said, a profound Jew hater. He's been in Parliament in the past, had not been recently, just got reelected, just got elected back again. Refreshing your memory, you've got three main parties. You've got, in the United Kingdom, you've got the Conservative Party. There is no such thing as conservative politics, really, in England. The Conservative Party is equivalent to what in the United States is the Democrat Party. Then the UK has Labour, and that's to the left of the Conservative Party, which is what makes the Conservative Party conservative, because Labour is socialist. And then you have to the left of the socialists is, for example, the Scottish National Party, which are just purely anti-Semitic altogether, as you know from a few weeks ago, what we saw in the House of Parliament. And so George Galloway just got elected, and I've got three very short snippets because it's considered, he was running in a district where the Conservative Party basically would have no chance at all. So his run was against the Labour Party guy. And the Labour Party leader in England is named Keir Starmer, K-E-I-R, Starmer. And Keir Starmer, a few years ago, when he became the head of the Labour Party, after Labour got wiped out politically in the elections that saw Boris Johnson get elected, Starmer, one of the things that happened, Labour had become very overtly anti-Semitic. It was just infected with anti-Semitism up and down its ranks, under a leader who himself is an outright Jew hater. And so after Labour got really wiped out in the last elections, by the way, they're expected to win big this time in a few months, the new leader, they changed leaders, and Keir Starmer made clear his first objective was to clean the party of anti-Semites. And he's been trying his best. I believe he's married to a Jewish woman, for whatever it's worth. And Galloway, of course, as I said, is an anti-Semite. And in the context of everything going on now in the Middle East, very, very pro, we don't use the word Palestinian here because there's no such thing as Palestinians or Palestine. He's very pro-Arabs of Gaza. And he ran against Labour on a great measure, saying Labour is too pro-Israel because they recognize Israel. He doesn't recognize Israel. And so he won in his anti-Semitic district. And that's the context of the next three little clips from his talking to the media the day he just got elected. Here we go.
Keir Starmer, this is for Gaza.
And you'll see that he's a little bit crass also. That's Starmer is the Labour guy he ran against.
Keir Starmer, this is for Gaza. You have paid and you will pay a high price for the role that you have played in enabling, encouraging, and covering for the catastrophe presently going on in occupied Palestine in the Gaza Strip. I want to tell Mr. Starmer above all that the plates have shifted tonight. And as Jacob Rees-Mogg just said on television, in talking of me as a parliamentary orator of note, that Keir Starmer's problems just got 100 times more serious than they were before today. This is going to spark a movement, a landslide, a shifting of the tectonic plates in scores of parliamentary constituencies, beginning here in the Northwest, in the West Midlands, in London, from Ilford to Bethnal Green and Bow. Labour is on notice that they have lost the confidence of millions of their voters who loyally and traditionally voted for them generation after generation. Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak are two cheeks of the same backside, and they both got well and truly spanked tonight here in Rochdale.
The Prime Minister is saying
talk
that
as if
you are...
this is God. We're talking about little Rishi Sunak in the fag end of his prime ministership. Don't talk to me as if he's come down from the mount with tablets of stone. The things that he says are somehow meant to awe me. They may awe you, they don't awe me.
A lot of people have just watched what the Prime Minister said. This is your opportunity to respond to what he said.
Well,
he says that there are forces here at home trying to tear us apart. He is implying you are a divisive figure. You have run an election campaign that has tried to appeal, particularly, not entirely, to one section of the community.
Who won the election? Me or Rishi Sunak? I've got the Democratic mandate here. not Rishi Sunak. He didn't even come second. He was lucky to come third. So don't put to me statements made by Rishi Sunak as if I'm supposed to be impressed by them. He don't impress me much.
We at Sky have spent some time today on the streets of Rochdale, and there are people who say that they feel intimidated by people like you and the people that have supported you.
I have just
and they have pointed out that you have concentrated your campaign on foreign affairs, and they worry that Rochdale will not be the winner.
That's my answer to you. I was just elected with a thumping majority by the electorate in Rochdale. That's all that matters to me.
So why are there people on the streets of Rochdale today worried?
Well, people voted yesterday, and they voted for me. Why is that difficult for you to grasp?
Why are there people on the streets worried?
There may be people who didn't vote for me who are worried, but the majority, the thumping majority, voted for me. I've got the mandate, and I'm going to the House of Commons with it.
And it's a mandate, you think, to do what? Because there are people that listen to what you say about whether or not Israel has a right to exist, what you say about what many Jewish people think are threatening slogans.
We had this conversation last night. Why are you reheating it?
Because in the light of the Prime Minister's
Don't keep
statement.
telling me about the Prime Minister as if he was Moses.
Do you not respect the Prime Minister?
Do I respect the Prime Minister? I despise the Prime Minister. And guess what? Guess what? Millions and millions and millions of people in this country despise the Prime Minister. I don't respect the Prime Minister at all. No state has a right to exist. Not the Soviet Union, not Czechoslovakia, not the Zionist apartheid state of Israel.
A lot of people think that the phrase "from the river to the sea" is racist and anti-Semitic. Do you?
Are there really a lot of people? I appreciate there are a lot of people in the media bubble, in the political class, who at least pretend to. But what is objectionable about people being free between a river and a sea?
Jewish people think it's intimidatory, and they think it's
not the Jewish people. Not the Jewish people on the demonstrations for Gaza chanting it. Some Jewish people say that they find it these things, but
is that something worth respecting?
No, because the Palestinians have a right to be free, and they have a right to be free between the river and the sea. Now, if you're really asking me what should be the final state of affairs in Israel-Palestine, well, my position is quite well known. I think there should be one democratic and secular state between the river and the sea. And if I was doing their marketing, I'd call it the Holy Land.
So you don't want Israel to exist?
Well, no state has a right to exist. Not the Soviet Union, not Czechoslovakia, not the Zionist apartheid state of Israel. I believe that the best solution for everybody is, as it was in South Africa, freed from apartheid, a democratic state where white people and black people, Jews, Christians, Muslims, live as equal citizens under the law. That's what I believe. I appreciate you don't believe it, and that there are others who don't believe it, but it's a legitimate view. It's one that has already been adjudged in law in Britain to be a legitimate one, and I hold it, and I got a mandate for it tonight.
This was the first such event, though.
This was was just yesterday, Shabbat, and this goes on Saturdays. It's become so common for tens of thousands in England to march in central London every Saturday or so, that one of their newspapers just came out with a major story calling downtown London on Saturdays a Jewish no-go zone. A no-go zone for Jews.
Since the Prime Minister made a Downing Street address condemning extremism and
I'm going to be playing that speech by the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, right after this.
saying the protests risked descending into mob rule.
I mean, it's a rhetoric that they sprout whenever they feel that they have no other justification.
One chant in particular continues to draw condemnation from politicians.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Rishi Sunak, you can't hide.
For many Jews, from the river to the sea is an anti-Semitic call for the eradication of Israel. Protesters here said it was a call instead for freedom from oppression for Palestinians.
At the moment, it's not illegal. So that's the reality. So we will chant it because for us, it does not mean what they're trying to imply it means.
On Friday, the government's counter-extremism commissioner said London was becoming a no-go zone for Jews on Saturdays. That received pushback from a number of Jewish community leaders, among them those who oppose these marches. The destination for this protest, a South London neighbourhood near the US Embassy, where people rallied and once again called for an immediate ceasefire.
So you have to condemn it, otherwise you're condoning it. And so I just think there comes a point where, you have to make a choice, you can't sit on the fence.
The Prime Minister has been urging more active policing of these marches. On Saturday, 5 arrests were made. Earlier, the Metropolitan Police had said it had to police the law as it was, not as others.
Well, I'm delighted to say, I wish it was different circumstances. But
Mike Freer is a Jew who is an MP, a member of parliament, and he has announced that he's not running for re-election because he fears that his life is in danger. That is to say, imagine a Jewish congressman, male or female congressional rep, saying, I can't run for re-election because it's too dangerous. Not going to get all 13 minutes, just a few minutes, but you'll get the flavor of it. And this is what's going on right now in England.
I'd like to say that the Justice Minister, Mike Freer, joins us on the line right now. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hi, Julia.
Thanks for joining us. I was absolutely horrified when I saw the front page of the Daily Mail today and the news that you were standing down for this reason. Lots of Tory MPs are standing down saying, not sure I'm going to keep my seat at the next election. You are standing down because of fears for your safety, your life, and that of your husband as well. Talk us through what you've been living with in recent months and years.
Well, to be fair, many MPs have to cope with a lot of low-level abuse. That's kind of par for the course, whether it's graffiti, whether it is just generally...
By the way, you picked up on that. He's not just a member of parliament. He's a justice minister. That's like, and he's afraid to stay in office.
That sadly is kind of the modern day political discourse. But over the years, I've had mock Molotov cocktails on the doorstep, been followed around Brent Cross Shopping Centre, being shouted at. I've had a run-in with Muslims Against Crusades who threatened to come and stab me. Had a very near miss with the man that went on to murder David Amos. At Christmas Eve, had an arson attack, notes left on my car. And there comes a point when you think, you know what, it's not fair on my family who have to also bear the stress. And also, to be fair, people forget our staff are the ones who answer the door, answer the phones, who also have to bear this. And political discourse should be robust. That's a part of our democracy. But, when MPs have to start fearing for their lives and also their safety of their family and their staff, that goes beyond the point that it's acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, I think from being shouted at and getting graffiti, I think that's the point when it was unacceptable. And that's my concern, is that actually enough action hasn't been taken by the police, by the authorities at the early stages of when this started, well, really getting a lot worse in recent years in our country, and didn't take action then. And now this has almost been normalised. The way you almost shrugged and said, well, most MPs have to kind of put up with abuse and graffiti and things like that. Was this always the case? I don't think it was, but it seems to have been normalised. And once that's normalised, people moved to the next stage. Why should anyone have to put up with it? We complain about, say, a footballer on the pitch saying someone makes a monkey noise, and quite rightly there is action taken because you shouldn't have to put up with racist abuse in your workplace. But there seems to be an acceptance that, well, that's what politics is like, take it or leave it. That shouldn't be what happens in a democracy.
No, I think what's changed is social media, I do believe, has a lot to answer for. It allows people almost to be threatening and abusive with impunity because it's virtually anonymous, and social media companies are very slow to react if they react at all. Yeah. And email, I have to say, email allows people to say things that they would never say to your face. And so it generally makes the whole level of discourse much more coarse, much more abusive. And I think it becomes a bit of a downward spiral. And
in the face of this kind of environment, Rishi Sunak, the Conservative Party Prime Minister, and as I said, polls show that unless there's a miracle, his party is going to get wiped out in a few months in the elections. Here he is at 10 Downing, and he's walking out now from his home, which is the equivalent of the White House. He's going to be coming out, and he holds a press conference in front, and then he goes back in. That's how they do it there.
In recent weeks and months, we have seen a shocking increase in extremist disruption and criminality. What started as protests on our streets has descended into intimidation, threats, and planned acts of violence. Jewish children fearful to wear their school uniform lest it reveal their identity. Muslim women abused in the street for the actions of a terrorist group they have no connection with. Now our democracy itself is a target. Council meetings and local events have been stormed. MPs do not feel safe in their homes. Long-standing parliamentary conventions have been upended because of safety concerns. And it is beyond alarming that last night the Rochdale by-election returned a candidate who dismisses the horror of what happened on October the 7th, who glorifies Hezbollah and is endorsed by Nick Griffin, the racist former leader of the BNP. I need to speak to you all this evening because this situation has gone on long enough and demands a response not just from government, but from all of us. Britain is a patriotic, liberal, democratic society with a proud past and a bright future. We're a reasonable country and a decent people. Our story is one of progress, of great achievements and enduring values. Immigrants who have come here have integrated and contributed. They have helped write the latest chapter in our island story. They have done this without being required to give up their identity. You can be a practicing Hindu and a proud Briton as I am, or a devout Muslim and a patriotic citizen as so many are, or a committed Jewish person and the heart of your local community, and all underpinned by the tolerance of our established Christian church. We are a country where we love our neighbors and we are building Britain together. But I fear that our great achievement in building the world's most successful multi-ethnic, multi-faith democracy is being deliberately undermined. There are forces here at home trying to tear us apart. Since October the 7th, there have been those trying to take advantage of the very human angst that we all feel about the terrible suffering that war brings to the innocent, to women and children, to advance a divisive, hateful ideological agenda. On too many occasions recently, our streets have been hijacked by small groups who are hostile to our values and have no respect for our democratic traditions. Membership of our society is contingent on some simple things: that you abide by the rule of law, and that change can only come through the peaceful democratic process. Threats of violence and intimidation are alien to our way of doing things. They must be resisted at all times. Nearly everyone in Britain supports these basic values, but there are small and vocal hostile groups who do not. Islamist extremists and the far right feed off and embolden each other. They are equally desperate to pretend that their violence is somehow justified, when actually these groups are two sides of the same extremist coin. Neither group, except that change in our country can only come through the peaceful democratic process. Both loathe the pluralist modern country we are. Both want to set Britain against Britain, to weaponize the evils of anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim hatred for their own ends. The faith of Islam, peacefully practiced by millions of our fellow citizens, is emphatically not the same thing as the extremist political ideology of Islamism, which aims to separate Muslims from the rest of society. Islamist extremists and far-right groups are spreading a poison. That poison is extremism. It aims to drain us of our confidence in ourselves as a people and in our shared future. They want us to doubt ourselves, to doubt each other, to doubt our country's history and achievements. They want us to accept a moral equivalence between Britain and some of the most despicable regimes in the world. They want us to believe that our country, and the West more generally, is solely responsible for the world's ills, and that we, along with our allies, are the problem. In short, they want to destroy our confidence and hope. We must not allow that to happen. When these groups claim that Britain is and has been on the wrong side of history, we should reject it and reject it again. No country is perfect, but I am enormously proud of the good that our country has done. Our place in history is defined by the sacrifices our people have made in the service of their own freedom and that of others. And when these groups tell our children that they cannot and will not succeed because of who they are, when they tell children that the system is rigged against them or that Britain is a racist country, this is not only a lie, but a cynical attempt to crush young dreams and turn impressionistic minds against their own society. I stand here as our country's first non-white Prime Minister, leading the most diverse government in our country's history, to tell people of all races, all faiths, and all backgrounds, it is not the color of your skin, the God you believe in, or where you were born that will determine your success, but just your own hard work and endeavor. And we must be prepared to stand up for our shared values in all circumstances, no matter how difficult. And I respect that the police have a tough job in policing the protests we have seen, and that they are operationally independent. But we must draw a line. Yes, you can march and protest with passion. You can demand the protection of civilian life. But no, you cannot call for violent jihad. There is no context in which it can be acceptable to beam anti-Semitic tropes onto Big Ben in the middle of a vote on Israel-Gaza. And there can be no cause that you can use to justify the support of a prescribed terrorist group like Hamas. And yes, you can freely criticize the actions of this government, or indeed any government. That is a fundamental democratic right. But no, you cannot use that as an excuse to call for the eradication of a state or any kind of hatred or anti-Semitism. This week, I've met with senior police officers and made clear it is the public's expectation that they will not merely manage these protests, but police them. And I say this to the police: we will back you when you take action. But if we are asking more of the police, we in government must also back up that call with action. To that end, this month the government will implement a new, robust framework for how it deals with this issue, to ensure that we are dealing with the root causes of this problem, and that no extremist organizations or individuals are being lent legitimacy by their actions and interactions with central government. You cannot be part of our civic life if your agenda is to tear it down. We will redouble our support for the PREVENT program to stop young minds being poisoned by extremism. We will demand that universities stop extremist activity on campus. We will also act to prevent people entering this country whose aim is to undermine its values. The Home Secretary has instructed that if those here on visas choose to spew hate or protest or seek to intimidate people, we will remove their right to be here. And our Britain must not be a country in which we descend into polarized camps, with some communities living parallel lives. It is.
So it's interesting to see that while we're focused as Americans, for example, on certain issues, this is what's going on there also. And so in sharing with you what's gone on the past week in the world, I wanted to share that with you. The election of George Galloway, the demonstrations in London, calling forth the prime minister having to make a speech of that nature.
A major pro-Palestinian protest is being held today outside of a Thornhill synagogue over a real.
And this is Canada. You know, there are people who come from Israel, real estate companies and professionals who have been visiting different shuls around the United States, I guess in Canada also, making it facilitating for people who would like to make Aliyah, talking to them about and educating how you could buy property, a house, a home in Israel, and they're sort of realtors. They can facilitate it. And a shul in Thorndale in Ontario had such a program one night this past week, and word got out. The next thing you knew, they had demonstrations outside the shul. And here we go. Some of you may even remember Rabbi Koropkin, Danny Koropkin. You know, he's a rabbi. He was the head of the Yavne Hebrew Academy in Los Angeles, and eventually went on to become rabbi of that shul up there in Ontario. So I recognized him.
Real estate seminar.
Hurt and anger voiced on both sides as the tensions over the conflict overseas continue to be felt here at home. Our Natalie Johnson joins us live from Thornhill. This protest underway this hour. Natalie.
That's exactly right, Michelle. This protest has been going on for hours now. Police have sealed off the road here behind me. This is Clark Avenue West. Let's give you a live look at the scene as we speak. Police have asked us to keep a distance and stay back. You can see the two sides of this protest have been physically separated by the street. There have been clashes when they have met in the middle. Police say that they have made some arrests. They have not updated the number of people in custody at this point, but this is an active protest that continues here in Thornhill at this hour. Tensions mounted as protesters clashed in the road. The two sides had been separated by the street in front of the synagogue. Officers quick to intervene and pull the pack apart.
I feel trapped here. Canada is no longer the country that I came to. Palestine is not for sale!
The pro-Palestinian protesters on the north sidewalk enraged by a real estate seminar happening inside the synagogue.
It is unconscionable, first of all, to be selling stolen Palestinian land. There's a genocide happening. They're literally selling the land of the people that they're killing.
How is Canada allowing this illegal sales event to take place here, facilitating the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians?
On the other side of the street, some members of the Jewish community alleging it is simply a pretense to protest here at the synagogue.
We've been holding these kinds of seminars for years, where realtors from Israel come and they basically just have an informational evening to show people what's for sale.
Hurt and anger from some that the protest would unfold in front of their house of worship, alleging intimidation on their doorstep.
This is a no-go zone for protests. You can't come to a place of worship and harass prayers and harass people for being here.
This organization across the road is targeting the Bayit synagogue. It's only a matter of time that there's going to be actual violence or acts of terrorism against, God forbid, the synagogue.
The other side saying they're simply protecting Palestine.
Palestinians have been forcefully displaced for over 75 years now. It's continuing every single day, and this is the reality of Palestinians who are living under military occupation.
Call for an end to this, and also an end to Canadian complicity, because Canada, by allowing this to happen, is also facilitating a war crime.
Bring them home!
Despair here at home as the conflict overseas rages on.
Everybody's losing sight of the hostages. It's time to bring the hostages home. There would be a ceasefire if they would tell us where the hostages are and release them.
A community divided in the shadow of the synagogue. York Regional Police say they will be investigating any possible criminal incidents here. Again, they are not saying at this point how many people they have arrested, but they are urging protesters to keep the peace and act in a lawful manner. Protesters saying they do expect to stay here and continue to rally into the evening. Reporting live in Thornhill, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan, over to you.
One person is dead after a man.
And you may have heard of this. This happened in San Diego this week.
And entered an East County dentist office and opened fire. The main suspect taken into custody about 24 hours ago. It was an update we brought to you as breaking news on the Fox 5 News at 11. And tonight we are learning more about the victim who lost his life in the shooting. Our Juliet Vara joins us from El Cajon with those details.
3 people were shot in this dental practice right here behind me in El Cajon yesterday. 2 people survived, but Dr. Benjamin Harouni did not. He was 28 years old. He had recently graduated from dental school, and he celebrated a birthday about a week ago. People that knew him and also people that didn't know him personally are feeling the loss tonight.
I was in tears. I mean, he was one of my kids, you know?
For Miri Kornfeld, what happened inside this El Cajon dental office is still sinking in. On Thursday, her former student, 28-year-old Dr. Benjamin Harouni, was gunned down at Smile Plus Dentistry, a family-run dental practice owned by his father. Police say 29-year-old Mohammed Abdul Karim shot 3 people, then fled the scene in this U-Haul pickup truck.
When you know someone who's the subject of something so horrific, I'm going to cry just thinking about it. It's, you know, moving forward. How is there moving forward?
Mary says as a teenager, Benjamin served a year-long internship with a nonprofit called Stand With Us, which she oversaw.
Everybody wanted to be around him. He was such a sweetheart. He had such a love of Israel, such a love of Judaism. It's just one of those kids that when you see as an adult, you're like, oh, thank God there are still kids like this in this world.
But his life cut short, police say, by Abdul Karim, who was a former patient at the dental office. He was arrested late Thursday night, armed with a loaded handgun and several loaded handgun magazines. Records show he illegally bought the handgun 2 weeks before the shooting.
That's horrible. I really cry for his family.
Alla Ginsburg is a Jewish community member, outraged and heartbroken.
This life just beginning, and to end up because some person decided you don't deserve to live, that's completely horrifying and not okay.
As police continue to investigate the motive behind this crime, she and others are planning a vigil this weekend.
We feel that we need to support this family. That's a horrific time for them.
In a statement, the rabbi of Chabad of downtown says Benjamin was a beautiful, kind, and caring young man who had his entire life ahead of him. Please do positive acts of kindness and spread peace to fill the world with much-needed light in memory of Benjamin. Meanwhile, the suspect has been booked on multiple felony charges, including 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. A public vigil is being scheduled for sometime on Sunday. In El Cajon tonight, I'm Juliet Vara, Fox 5 News.
Now, that's the downside of today's program. We're going to start moving to the upside. I had to share with you what's going on in Canada and England and other places, and right here in San Diego. And I think we all know that these are tough times. Sometimes there's a feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm living in a time it's never been worse. And one of the things I try to continually remind everyone around me, not only in our classes, but in my writings and other things, it's been so much worse. We are in the best of times. These are some horrible things, but it was so much worse. For Israel, when she was starting as an independent country in 1948, there was not a single country really ready to stand by her side. Yes, there was a vote in the United Nations. And by the way, that was not a unanimous vote at all. But that vote also saw countries that supported an independent Israel. It was with their backs, those countries had their backs against the wall. There had just been a Holocaust in which either they had participated in the Holocaust or they had been silent in the face of the Holocaust. They had their backs against the wall. Politically, everyone was watching the next one. Stalin was going to vote for Israel, so Truman had to vote for Israel because he didn't want Israel to end up allying with the Soviets, and Stalin thought there was a chance he could get Israel. There's a lot of stuff that was going on. Those were tough times. A brand new country with no weapons, they had no bombs, they didn't have what they have now. They couldn't fight the enemy the way they could now. if you go back and look at some of those movies, even fictionalized versions, the Mickey Marcus movie, Cast a Giant Shadow with Kirk Douglas, you go back and look at that, it's a reminder Jews could not even defend Jerusalem. The whole difficulty of being able to get food or anything, supplies to Jerusalem. The Arabs had Jerusalem blocked off. It was the days of the 35. The members of the Haganah who were massacred trying to save the Jews of Gush Etzion. And that was just in Israel. They had no weapons. I've talked about it in previous Sundays that young Jews in New York and New Jersey working with the Italian mafia ran guns to Israel because Truman embargoed weapons. So it has been worse. And I share with you a slight reminder. And why am I sharing of how it was worse? Because it gives us perspective. If we survive that, we can come out really strong now. This is a problem on only one level. Like we talk about the anti-Semitism on campuses. I often point out, you know why there was less anti-Semitism on campuses 30, 40 years ago? Because they weren't Jews. The Ivy League did not allow Jews onto campuses. And so you didn't have anti-Semitism. And a great amount of the troubles in America actually are being incited and instigated by non-Americans coming from Muslim Arab countries. These campuses allow large numbers of Arab Muslims for two reasons, at least. It's really a very, very subtle thing that we should understand what's going on. These are money operations. Everything in the world, you got to make money. You got to pay your bills. They have to give scholarships. They don't have to, but they do have to. They give scholarships to Americans. Any foreign student going to a campus in the United States pays full freight. If it's $60,000, $70,000 a year, foreign students pay full freight. Where do they get that money? In most cases, their governments pay for it. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar. These countries want some of their people, even lesser countries financially, like Indonesian countries, things like that. They want their students to come to America, and they want to promote and propagate a new generation, every generation of leaders who have studied in American universities, and they pay full tuition. So first of all, campuses take them in because they pay full freight. And as the expense gets higher and higher and higher, it's more and more important to take in more of them. Number two, a lot of people don't know it, but you know, there's all this DEI, we know about that, diversity, equity, inclusion. There's all this DEI stuff out there. Again, we know what's going on with that. And everybody pays lip service to it. But what happens is a lot of the promoters of DEI, as with so many of these virtue signaling things, actually try their doggone best to minimize being inconvenienced themselves. I was reading yesterday about how tonight there are going to be the Academy Awards, and they were talking about how a major contender is Oppenheimer. And Oppenheimer, basically, what can you do? It's about white people. It's just about white people in the nuclear program or the atomic bomb program in the 40s and whatever. And you just can't put in black actors to play Oppenheimer. You can do it in a musical on Broadway, but it doesn't work in the movie. But there are certain DEI rules in Hollywood. And I won't waste your time with it, but there's all these different little shticklach, all these little gambits that they did at the movie to hire an extra, let's say, black choreographer or screen designer or stage man or costumer, so they could meet the minimum standard of black people, let's say, involved or something. And what's going on the campuses is that they are counting these Arab Muslim kids whom they're bringing in for the full tuition towards their affirmative action DEI numbers. So even to the degree, no matter what your personal politics is, even to the degree that DEI is supposed to help African Americans and Hispanic Americans and other people of color. What's actually happening is large numbers of the DEI slots are being used. They bring in the Arab Muslim pays full and they count them towards the DEI numbers that they report to the federal government that look of all these people of color we have. And now what's going on is that so much of this trouble, whether it's the streets of London, whether it's the campuses, these are actually non-Americans. It's not, again, we're not getting into issues about illegal immigrants. They're here legally. They're here legally, non-Americans from countries that hate America. And I just want to remind you now, the next 5 minutes, how bad it once was in America, in New York, the center of Jewish life, only about half a century ago. Here we go. Madison Square Garden. "84 years ago. Madison Square Garden. Pro-American rally. Standing room only in Madison Square Garden. George Washington. But a swastika over here. Dressed like the brown shirts. And not just a few people. Against swastikas.
I pledge undivided allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
His name, Fritz Kuhn, K-U-H-N.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, American patriots, I'm sure I do not come before you tonight as a complete stranger. You all have heard of me through the Jewish-controlled press as a creature with horns, a cloven hoof, and a long tail. We, with American ideals, demand that our government shall be returned to the American people who founded it. If you ask what we are actively fighting for under our charter, first, a social, just, white, Gentile, ruled United States. Second, Gentile-controlled labor union, free from Jewish Moscow-directed domination.
A Jewish man rushed the stage and he got beaten very, very terribly. He rushed the stage. It's been worse. It's been much worse. It's important to keep perspective.
אבינו מלכנו, חוננו בנינו. אבינו מלכנו, חוננו בנינו, כי אין בנו מעשים. אבינו מלכנו, חוננו בנינו. אבינו מלכנו, חוננו בנינו, כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד, עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד, והושיענו.
Same parking lot as a mosque. It's mostly Muslims.
People for so long and so for my final class.
live.
You refuse to call it a genocide.
This is just one of those things as we start transitioning our program to some of the other things that happened this week and start moving more towards feeling some real chizuk and some strength. This is sort of like just to change the palette, something so insane that I just thought I would share this minute with you before we get to the next section. Our friend, anti-Semite Alexandria Ocasio, was trying to go to a movie. One of her things has been to urge her followers to get in the faces of politicians and put them on the spot with your smartphones and film them and post it on social media and just get in their faces. So here she is going to a movie and I guess somebody got the message wrong and they went into her face.
Genocide.
I need you to understand that this is not.
It's not okay.
It's not okay that there's a genocide happening. You're not actively against it.
You're lying.
I'm lying.
You're not.
You went on TV and avoided talking about it.
For what? Because now you can't say it's a genocide or what? You're deciding political ways. You can't call it a genocide and how do you say We're not lying.
We're not lying.
You've been cited in interviews. It's insane. You haven't been calling it a genocide. Don't tell me I'm lying. Then just say it's a genocide. Just say it. Over 30,000 people are dead, AOC. You can't just say it for once. Just say the word. That's it. That's all we want you to say. Or you're not angry about people confronting the public, but you can't call it genocide. Over 30,000 people have died.
Stop. Okay? Stop.
We're not doing anything. We're just talking to intellectual publication. That's all we're doing. That's it.
Cut it, and you're going to cut this, and you're going to clip this so that it's completely out of context. I already said that it was, and y'all are just going to pretend that it wasn't over and over again. It's fucked up, man. And you're not helping these people, and you're not helping them.
You refuse to.
You're not helping them.
She's right here.
As you have been learning more and more, it's one of the tactics that's used now, trying to get politicians in a bad moment when they're not scripted and they're not thinking about what they're about to say. And you get them with that smartphone and then you post it on social media, hoping to embarrass a politician. Meantime, this past week, Biden presented the State of the Union. And whenever the president walks in, all the different politicians line up and try to shake the president's hand and try to get a photograph with the president that they can send back to their constituents. Sometimes they have a few small words, and this got caught on a hot mic.
Thanks for all the dirty
Follow each other.
How are you, Mr.
This is one of the
Great speech. Really great speech. I was telling your secretary, I was in Jordan and Israel this weekend, and we just, you got to keep pushing what you're doing on the humanitarian stuff and all this stuff. So
I told him, baby, show me this. I said, baby, you know I can't come to Jesus. Sure, just. I'm a hot mic, good. That was good.
Hey, free Gaza.
I support Israel. I'm sorry.
Why do you support the
Representative Fleischman is out of Tennessee, I believe.
genocide and all of the war crimes and collective punishment? Are you concerned
Let
about
me
all the
make
children?
Let me make
dying
it
in
clear.
Gaza?
Let me make it clear. Israel is our ally. Will always be our ally.
Even if they commit war
and they are
crimes,
not
even
guilty
with-
of genocide.
Say it.
And
Why?
I will support Israel forever.
You will
Israel will stay your ally, even though they commit Israel genocide. Will be my, even that's
that.
your term.
Even Can when you
they
explain?
that is your term.
Even when they
kill 30,000 kids, they
that is a
did to
statistic.
the Israeli
That's a
people
statistic.
on October. Let me tell you a statistic.
Yeah, please.
Israel will exist. The Jewish state will exist.
That's not a
It will
statistic.
always exist.
That's not
what we're, and that is for God to do
nothing
and
to do with what we're saying.
And I will
You are a
always support
supporter of
Israel.
genocide, sir. You're
I will
supporting
always
the
support
murder of
Israel,
little children.
and you can tell the Palestinians I will
I
never
am a
support
Palestinian
them.
myself.
Then I
I'm
will
a
tell you,
then say
I
it to
will
my
never
face.
support you.
Yeah?
I will tell you to your
And
face.
you want my you want
Goodbye
cousins to
to
die.
Palestine. Goodbye to
Palestine.
Goodbye to Palestine. We will support Israel forever.
So you are comfortable.
So
with
just FYI, this guy just said goodbye to Palestine. Support Israel.
So you just said goodbye to Palestine. So you are
Goodbye.
saying you are comfortable with the murder of thousands of children.
The Jewish people will never
You are
suffer
not
again
answering the question.
under Palestinian terrorism, under Hamas, under Hezbollah.
What about
Israel will be secure
30,000
forever.
innocent
God,
Please bear with me. I've got to play it one more time. It's only a minute.
Why do you support the genocide and all of the war crimes and collective punishment? Are you concerned
Let
about
me make it clear. Israel is our ally, will always be our ally.
Even if they commit war
and they are
crimes,
not
even
guilty
with-
of genocide,
Say it.
and
Why?
I will support Israel forever. Israel will stay your ally, even though they commit Israel genocide. Will be even that's that. your term.
Can you explain?
Even when they kill 30,000 kids, what they did to the Israeli people on October. Let me tell you a statistic. Please. Israel will exist. The Jewish state will exist.
That's not a
It will
statistic.
always exist, That's not what we're, and that is for God absolutely to do nothing and to do with what decide. we're saying. And I will You are a always support supporter of Israel. genocide, sir. I will always support Israel, and you can tell the Palestinians I will never am a support Palestinian them. myself. Then I will tell you, I will never support you. Yeah? I will tell you to your face. And you want my cousins Goodbye to to
die.
Palestine. Goodbye to Palestine. Goodbye to Palestine. We will support Israel forever.
So you are comfortable.
So just
with-
FYI, this guy just said goodbye to Palestine. Support Israel.
So you just said goodbye to Palestine. So you are
Goodbye.
saying you are comfortable with the murder of thousands of children.
The Jewish people will never
You are
suffer
not
again
answering the question.
under Palestinian terrorism, under Hamas, under Hezbollah.
What about
Israel will be secure
30,000
forever.
innocent
God
civilians?
bless Israel forever.
Thank
So
you
why
for
does he wipe Palestine off the earth? Yeah. God bless Israel forever. Let's be clear. Hamas.
And how another congressman. So not everybody reads this kind of stuff in the media every day, but we should know this is the kind of strength of support. Those who are supportive, we have a lot of support in the Congress, elsewhere. Americans are very passionate, not just a little bit for Israel. There are a lot of Americans deeply, deeply passionate for Israel. In Congress.
No evidence of that.
I've seen the footage, and you haven't.
I've seen the footage of
You've seen footage of
shredded children's bodies. And that's my taxpayer dollars. They're going to bomb those kids.
So I think we should kill them all, if that makes you feel better. Everybody, Hamas and the Palestinians have been attacking Israel for 20 years, and it's time to pay the piper.
Israel's been attacking Palestine.
Israel is an occupier. Palestine was there before Israel.
Your naivety doesn't make it true.
My what? There's a genocide happening right now. Do you think I care about
They're
that?
starving women and children. How is that going after
Killed over
Hamas?
300 healthcare workers. Shame on you. You have no heart.
How is turning off
You
water
have
and
no
power on
heart.
pregnant women going after
AIPAC
Hamas?
zombie. AIPAC zombie.
Death to Hamas.
Ah yes, diversity is our strength apparently, and multiculturalism is a good idea. Well, you can ask anybody in any developed European country or even the United States what's going on. Ask people in Canada, ask people in Australia. Chaos is happening. This video is about what happened earlier in the Dutch Parliament when the Islamists decided to take over and completely infiltrate the whole system because they wanted to say from the river to the sea. Yes, we heard this there from Wilders earlier saying the leftist anti-Semitic scum shouting 100% Jew hate in the building of the Dutch Parliament. The police should arrest them and jail them immediately. They've been saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
From the sea to the river. Palestine will live forever. Palestine will live forever.
Oh dear. Okay, so on the plus side, they were chanting in English in the Dutch Parliament. And the problem with that was they're not really as coordinated as the protesters in London. They had to repeat the same chant until they get to the second verse. One of you would say the first part, the other group will have to say the second part. Don't repeat each other. Anyway, the whole idiocy aside, Wilders also said, obviously, he made a speech in the chamber about this. Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of parliament.
Voorzitter, ik loop hier zo'n 25 jaar rond in dit parlement. En wat ik vandaag gehoord en gezien heb, hier, maar zeker ook beneden in het gebouw, is pure jodenhaat. Is Israël-haat. Is antisemitisme. En ik schaam me kapot dat dat blijkbaar kan. Dat de mensen binnenkomen en dat het een half uur duurt voordat ze voor de politie worden verwijderd. Dus ik vraag u en ik vraag aan de minister en ik steun alle vragen daarover om te zorgen dat deze gebeurtenis waar ik plaatsvervangende schaamte voor krijg, dat die nooit meer voorkomt. Maar ook dat degenen die dat gedaan hebben keihard worden gestraft.
Absolutely spot on, Mr. Wilders.
And so Wilders is the new prime minister, of course, in the Netherlands. And I have not previously really brought in anything from, let's say, a church for these Sunday programs. But since this week, there were some of those really hateful periods that we talked about earlier today in London and England, and that guy George Galloway and some of this other garbage. I wanted very much, again, to reinforce, you don't read this in the papers or see it on TV. There is a lot of support for Israel, strong support in the United States. There are a lot of people that strongly, it's not just a small group. Israel has enormous support among at least half. Most polls show between 60 to 80% of America. There was that just a few weeks ago, that poll that came out, the Harvard poll, not Harvard University, but the Harvard Harris poll, tied with the old Lou Harris organization, found 82% of Americans support Israel in the current conflict. You don't pick it up from the media. And I wanted to share this few of these minutes with you.
Scripture says the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the way you shall bless the children of Israel." Tonight our hearts are heavy, and we speak the blessing of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob over the people of Israel.
The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face toward you and give you peace. Yivarechecha Adonai
You know this goes on in some churches in America. And not just a few.
And keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
I was there.
You know that in the face of all the other stuff going on, the U.S. has been dropping some food. Here we go. So this we saw last week. No good deed goes unpunished. No good deed goes unpunished. Without comment.
All we knew was there was injured people inside that needed our help. Hi, I'm Shira. I'm a combat soldier in the unit Bagdelas, which is a co-ed unit that works on the borders of Israel. On October 7th, I got a call early in the morning that everyone must return back to base immediately. No one knew what was going on. We had no idea what we were walking into, and we immediately went to Otef Aza, where we were met by terrorists and a lot of injured people who needed help. We worked with precision and accuracy to neutralize the terrorists while simultaneously trying to help the injured. My unit was the first one called into Kibbutz Cholit. Many of us that were there, we saw things that we wish we had never seen. People were being shot, injured, blown up. It was a horrible sight to see. My unit was happy to be there. Despite all the horrible things that have happened and continue to happen, all we want is for Israel to be safe, protected, and to help as much as we can and give all that we can.
For the last part of today's program and class, I was thinking about the hostages. Throughout Jewish history, going back to the Torah, the Chumash, there has been a theme of Jews being kidnapped in battle. It goes back to the Torah where the Vayish Shavi, that one person in one of Moshe Rabbeinu's battles was taken captive, and what the Jews did to get that person back. And that's how it's been, this business of taking hostages. And I haven't heard a lot about, so I thought I would throw it in. I was thinking back to Entebbe. Isn't that sort of like one of those early where it began kind of things, where they took hostages and they made extraordinary demands, and Israel did not release anybody. Israel had a deadline by which they had to release. And while the hostages were being held in the airport terminal in Entebbe, Uganda, and it was expected that the next day, Israel was given a deadline, we start killing hostages unless you pay up. You know what happened that night. In the middle of the night, Israel sent, it's just one of the greatest God miracles in Israel's history, and we've had so many miracles, where they sent people overnight. You know, they raided Entebbe. So I was preparing class, and I wanted something inspiring, because I relate, I'm not just doing this for you, I do it for me. I want to be inspired. And since no one else is inspiring me, I got to inspire myself. So I asked, what's going to inspire me after George Galloway and London and all this? So I started thinking, I got to catch up on Entebbe again. I don't have time for the whole movie, but I'm entitled to 5 minutes. I'm also, my mother had an expression, I'm also a mother's child. And I'm entitled to see 5 minutes of Entebbe. And Israel, there were about 3 or 4 Entebbe movies about how the Israelis rescued all the hostages. And Israel made one of the movies, Menachem Golan, starring Yehoram Gaon. There were 2 or 3 others, Victory in Entebbe, this in Entebbe, that in Entebbe, and the one in Israel is known as Mivtza Yonatan, Operation Jonathan. It was renamed Operation Jonathan for Netanyahu's brother, Yoni Netanyahu, the only member of the unit that actually was killed during the raid. And there's a 1-minute speech, a little inspirational speech that Yoni Netanyahu, as played by Yehoram Gaon, makes before they leave, before the plane leaves Israel. And I want to play that 1-minute speech. And I'm also going to invite you to listen carefully to the score, the music score. Tonight's the Academy Awards for other movies. Every movie has a score, or a lot of them do. The background music. The background music and the score had a written theme called Eretz Tzvi, the land of the deer, D-E-E-R. Another time I'll explain why the Talmud refers to Israel, among other things, as the land of the deer, Eretz Tzvi. And the basic lyrics of that movie theme song is that they got up in the middle of the night and they flew like to the corners of the world, because this is a nation that does not leave anyone behind in the hands of a foreign land. Pretty heavy stuff. Listen to this a moment and then we'll close, and you'll see why I picked this also.
אני יודע שאתם לא אוהבים לשמוע ציונות, אבל בכל זאת כמה מילים נקיות. אנחנו יוצאים למבצע במרחק של אלפי קילומטרים.
Okay, let me do some translating. I forgot this is not in English. Okay, here we go.
אני יודע שאתם לא אוהבים.
I know that you don't like to listen to long Zionist speeches.
לשמוע ציונות, אבל בכל זאת כמה מילים.
But even so, I'm going to have to share with you a couple of words. Short and sweet. We are now leaving for an operation, military operation, that is thousands of kilometers from our country.
קילומטרים מהארץ כדי להציל ישראלים.
To save Jews.
וזאת רק בגלל שהם ישראלים.
And it's only because they're Israelis and Jews.
ויהודים. מפני שאם אנחנו לא נעשה את זה, אף אחד אחר לא יעשה את זה בשביל...
Because if we don't do this, no one in the world will do it for us.
בשבילנו. זה מבצע ארוך ומסובך.
This is a very long operation and a very complicated one.
ואני רוצה להדגיש שהצלחת המבצע או כישלונו,
and I want to emphasize that the success of this operation or its failure
תלויים רק בנו.
is going to be determined only by what we do. And I believe we're going to succeed.
אני מאמין שנצליח, שנחזיר את האנשים האלה בשלום הביתה.
That we're going to bring those people back home in peace. Back home.
שיהיה בהצלחה.
This was the theme song of that movie.
בחצי הלילה הם קמו והיכו בקצה העולם כבני רשף חשו הרחיקו להשיב את כבוד האדם אל ארץ אל דבש שדותיה אל הכרמל והמדבר אל עם אשר לא יחשב שאת בניו לא יפקיר לזר אל ארץ צבי שבהריה פועמת עיר מדור לדור אל ארץ אם לטבורה קשורים בניה בטוב וברע בחצי הלילה עוברת בשדותינו רוח שרב ערבה אילמת הרכין אז ראש על אשר שחר לא שב אל ארץ צבי אל דבש שדותיה אל הכרמל והמדבר אל עם אשר לא יחשב שאת בניו לא יפקיר לזר אל ארץ צבי שדמעותיה נושרות על שדה חמניות שיצפונה וששונה הם שטיבה ערב בבגד יומה
from the river to the sea? Yeah, let's look at the map. Here's the river, here's the sea. Oh, I see, it means you get all of it. Not just the West Bank, which was basically the original UN partition deal you rejected because you wanted all of it and always have, even though it's indisputably also the Jews' ancestral homeland. And so you attacked and lost, and attacked again and lost, and attacked again and lost. As my friend Dr. Phil says, how's that working for you? Look at what Mexico used to own, all the way up to the top of California. But no Mexican is out there chanting from the Rio Grande to Portland, Oregon, because they chose a different path. They got real and built a country that's the world's 14th biggest economy now, because they knew the United States wasn't going to give back Phoenix any more than Hamas will ever be in Tel Aviv.
And now we close. You can tell it's Hanukkah because of the jelly donuts. Oh yeah, also the menorah. Hanukkah. You will not beat us. From the theme of that movie.
Paso de
Thanks everybody for being here. We're going to break now. Obviously, Purim is around the corner, and you'll start be getting some emails from time about Purim. The important thing is that these programs reinforce that the cause is just, Israel's cause is just, and people are marching, partly those who hate us, and partly a great amount of them don't even know what the issues are, and they just follow what they hear in the media. Our cause is just, and Israel is winning. And it's never been stronger, and it's going to be good. So have a wonderful week ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rabbi.